This is Jim Minion from Two Loose Screws. I'm listening to Barbecue Central.
Happy to have you aboard here for the really big barbecue show.
Boing. We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Hit me!
Fine, how you doing?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
Boing.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle. Charbono! It's all about the charbono, dude.
Succulent fish. What?
He ate Tootsie or wieners.
But listen, Lavernius, shut your face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
And just like that, we are into the second hour. Welcome aboard. You have found the second hour of the Barbecue Central show. It's a show that talks about barbecue and grilling type items. And we do it right here on each and every Tuesday evening from 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern. It is a show that is also being recorded at the same time and sent to various podcast directories. So if you missed the live show, you can enjoy the show on podcast. You know, I caught a little bit of crap for as great as the Howard Stern mention was. Howard said, well, I heard you listen to a barbecue podcast. Well, technically, Howard, if we're being truthful, it's a show. It's not a podcast. It also is being recorded for those who want to listen to it as a podcast, but it is not a podcast. This is a live show. This is happening, if you're listening to this at any other time than between Tuesday at 9 to 11 Eastern, you will think this is a podcast, but nothing is edited. This is all happening right here, right now, on Tuesday, between those 120 minutes, live. So as you hear it Wednesday and Thursday, and then the best of on Friday. Now, of course, Friday is a podcast traditionally, but that was all live show, too, that John uses and that he's pulling from. So this is absolutely a live show that is aired over the internet. Global. I don't just have national syndication. I do have global syndication. I have a lot of power. So while many people are younger than me and many people have better social skills than me, nobody has a global platform much like me. I win. So it is a show first, which also happens to record itself and send the archives up for a podcast type experience. That's what it is. It's a podcast type experience. Okay? Lest anybody ever get me confused with podcasts that don't have the balls to go live and do their whole show out there for everybody to enjoy, and let's see what happens. Because it would be kind of bad. It would be really bad for a lot of people. And sometimes people that do podcasts don't use the magic tool of editing. I mean, that's what podcasting is all about. Figure it all out in the long form and then spend the time to go in and edit and make it sound good. Forget this old mindset of podcasting is romantic because it's raw, man. Screw raw. Well, screw raw. I don't mean it like that. I'm just saying forget about that. Lose that mindset. Be raw in your long-form interview, and then use editing a lot. Use editing a lot. If you think you have edited too much, continue to edit further. Your listeners will appreciate it. It just so happens I have happened to work really hard at speaking well and putting thoughts together and being able to conduct interviews that fit within certain time frames. It just takes practice, and I'm really good at it, and most of you aren't good at it. But most of you aren't really good at podcasting either. So my advice, my most expert advice to you is if you're in podcasting, you're going to get into podcasting. Get the long form stuff down. Record the show, however it happens, because there's going to be a lot of good stuff in there. And then edit out all the crap. And don't be afraid to be very self-critical on what you think is crap and what you don't think is crap. Most of it's going to be crap. Edit it out. It's better to go a little shorter than it is to go a little longer. Because if people become under the impression that you're always going longer with worse, they're going to stop listening. It's always better to leave wanting, right? Leave wanting. That draws them back. Oh, maybe next week he'll get it all out. Maybe next week he'll go a little longer. That's what she said. Never happens either. Edit, self-edit a lot. Self-edit a lot more than you should. If you're doing a 60-minute show, or if you make a 60 to 80-minute recording, are you telling me there's not 25 to 30 minutes that can get yanked out? I think there is. Save that stuff, maybe for an extra blooper reel or something. Don't be afraid to edit. Come on. All right, still to come on the show this evening, the Embedded Correspondents segments, because it is the fourth Tuesday of the month, if you can believe it. We are into the What? Nope. Is that right? Where are we at? 23rd? 23rd? Oh, yes. We have bonus week next week. July is a bonus month, 5 weeks long. Lovely. Love that. Extra week of July, but we are through it. Soon enough, we'll be into month 8, 2019, rapidly coming to a close. Don't forget, you can follow me socially on Instagram and Twitter at BBQ Central Show /BBQ Central Show on Facebook. You can friend me there. Well, don't friend me, but just like my page. Once again, I will point out I do have a personal page on Facebook, and if you have requested to be my pal on my personal page, and you haven't seen that acceptance come through, keep waiting because it's not coming through. I don't use my personal page. I am held hostage by Facebook because I have to have a personal page in order to have a show page, which is stupid. I don't really post anything on my personal page. That's why I'm not accepting your friend. Just like my show page. That's all we really want to know about each other. That I'm going to put on a show on a Tuesday, and you're going to like that show on Tuesday. So just go like the page and follow it. Make sure that it shows up in the news feeds. So when I post something on that page, you'll see it first. Coming up this Friday on the best moments of the Barbecue Central Show in 10 minutes or less, episode 82. 82! Holy moly. Taking you back to May 2014. Second Tuesday of the month, regular guest Meathead from AmazingRibs.com was on. At that point, we were talking in depth about the thermodynamics of cooking. That was a great segment. Also, barbecue legend, West Coast legend Harry Sue from Slap Yo Daddy Barbecue appeared. And we talked about, at that point, him switching sides. So everybody knows Harry as a competitor. And not only a competitor, but one who really likes to have as small of a carbon footprint as possible. And he, I think, on many occasions has brought like one cooker, and he's done his whole competition on one 18.5-inch Weber kettle. So he's really into that. But we talked in May 2014, about him going from competitor to judge. And he talked about his experience judging instead of taking part in the competition to someone turning in. So make sure that you subscribe to the show's podcast feed, even though it is a show that then turns into a podcast. You do have to be subscribed to the feed in order to get the Friday show, which is a podcast. Can I be more gray here? Can I confuse everybody as much as possible? I'm really trying hard to do that. That shows up on Friday and is produced by John Solberg, who happens to be the Michigan embedded correspondent. A couple weeks ago, we had Pat LaFrida on. We talked about plant-based beef or beef alternatives, Impossible Burger, Beyond Burger. Pat thought that there was a place in the segment, but he thought that patties were not the way, or competing with burgers was not the way. I don't know if you saw this. This happened about a week ago or so. Impossible Foods now developing fishless fish. Fishless fish. Impossible Foods, purveyor of the world's famous meat-free Impossible Burger, now developing an alternative to fish in response to the growing market for plant-based foods and to combat depleted ocean populations. Like the company's vegan beef replacements, these fishless fish would be made using a secret ingredient that mimics the taste and aroma of meat, or in this case, seafood. According to a new report by the New York Times, Impossible has already successfully created an anchovy-flavored broth made with plants. Pat Brown, the company's CEO, told the outlet that it's currently being used to make paella, but that it could also be used to make Caesar dressing. Beyond beef and fish, Impossible is striving to develop alternatives for every animal-based food by 2035. It's unclear whether or not the goal is attainable in such a short period of time. But Brown told the newspaper he's confident that the current plant-based beef recipe is malleable enough for other protein options. So, Impossible Burger is out, and fishless fish could be on the way. MSN.com with that report. Embedded Correspondents coming out. Jason King, isn't that just a fish stick already? No, fish sticks are fish, believe it or not. Kinger, shoot a video on how much fish is in fish sticks. The better test would be taking the fishless fish from Beyond and then doing a side-by-side comparison with fish sticks. By the way, fish sticks, delicious, if you were wondering. Also delicious are Green Mountain Grills. That's right, some of the best pellet cookers out there on the market today. 3 different sizes to choose from. The big one is the Jim Bowie. The medium size is the Daniel Boone. The travel model is the Davy Crockett. Davy Crockett introducing originally that 12-volt power technology. So if you don't have access to a traditional power outlet, all you have to do is plug in the the Davy Crockett and the 12-volt outlet of your car, and away you go. And you get pretty decent capacity with the Davy Crockett. I mean, you're not jamming 6 and 8 butts in there, but you probably get a couple at least. Now, they also have a new Prime line that's been out for most of the year. This one built on a little bit more of a sturdy chassis and or frame, has a peek-in window in the main cooking chamber, a peek-in window on the pellet hopper, 2 internal meat thermometers, a whole bunch of new tech, including the 12-volt technology that the Davy Crockett has. They also have a number of great cooking complements to go along with it. Should I say accessories? I will. Pellets, sauces, spices, rubs, other great accessories that will make your cooking more efficient. You head over to greenmountaingrills.com. That's greenmountaingrills.com, and check out everything they have to offer. And if you get the Jim Bowie or the Daniel Boone, don't forget to pick up that pizza oven as well. Go to the dealers. They teach the dealers teach you. Everybody's happy all the way around. We're back with the Embedded Correspondence segment. Stick around. We'll be right back.
The only show giving you a monthly visit from a doctor of barbecue. A man actually named Meathead. The author of a barbecue Bible. Bloggers, reviewers, competitors, and manufacturers by the dozens. It's the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Hey, welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by FireBoard. Monitor up to 6 different temperatures simultaneously. Connect to Wi-Fi for cloud-based monitoring or connect via Bluetooth. If you have Alexa or the Google Assistant in your home, you're in luck because FireBoard is fully integrated with both. Find out more by visiting FireBoard.com or call 816-945-2232. That's 816-945-2232. It is the fourth Tuesday of the month, and that means a refiring of the ever-popular Embedded Correspondents segment. David Huff, Doug Scheiding, John Solberg, and, of course, Steve Ray making his second appearance in the second hour, or his first appearance in the second hour, second appearance on the show in total this evening. So, gentlemen, always appreciate you guys coming on here in the fourth Tuesday of the month. We have a bonus week next week here in July, but we are racing through it. Doug and I are wearing the same T-shirt tonight, which I find incredibly endearing to the host, so thank you to Doug for that. We're going to start with burgers this evening, and that was a topic. I forget exactly where it was spawned exactly, but I would imagine between the five of us, we've eaten roughly 780 tons of hamburgers over our live fire lives. But, geez, it's just one of those things that when done right, a few things beat a properly cooked hamburger. And I thought it would be fun to do a little hamburger roundtable. So,
absolutely.
Let's start with David Huff from Oklahoma, and we'll start right at the beginning. David, are you a pre-ground fan? Are you a grind your burger fan? Are you it's whatever mood strikes you fan? What kind of grind guy are you? And we'll start to build in and go around the table from there.
Sure. So I don't have my own grinder. That's one of the things on my wish list. But for my friends who have grinders that have used them, I absolutely prefer to grind them at home. Then you can experiment with brisket or different types of meat. If you got to buy it at the store, as long as you trust your butcher, an 80-20, maybe 85-15, something like that, that's fine by me.
What about you, Doug?
Yeah, I don't have a grinder yet, but that's on my wish list. But I like to actually my preference is to buy the patties already made in 8-ounce patties. So I prefer to do that.
And where do you have a purveyor of choice?
No, I actually just buy the ground brisket at my local grocery store. And to make the patties, if I have to buy it, I use this pickle lid to make the patties into the right shape and size.
You shove the meat inside of the lid?
Yeah, I put it down into a little ball, and then I shove the meat down, the lid down on the meat, and it puts it into the proper size that I like.
How about that? All right. Steve Ray, are you a grind your own guy or already done guy?
No, I've got a grinder. I've tried it a couple of times. I don't use it. I'm like Doug. I go to the grocery store, buy the 80-20 ground chuck right off, already padded out, separated by wax paper. Usually there's 6 to a bag, 4 to a bag. And that's what I use. Now they do a good job.
Just convenient for you, Steve? Or have you found the taste to be that much better in the already ground stuff?
No, the taste is the same. If I buy it 80-20 in bulk, and I've got a hamburger masher thing, that makes hamburgers. The taste is the same. It's just so much easier because it seems like that they hold together better than mine do.
All right, John Solberg, what about your grind?
I'm all of the above guy. I will take frozen patties, thanks to Greg Rampy and the Barbecue Central show. I will buy the pre-made patties. I will form patties. I will grind my own. And I just want to throw out there, to grind your own hamburger, you do not need to own a meat grinder. If you have a chef knife or a food processor, you can accomplish the same thing.
Do you enjoy a taste over one or the other, John?
If I'm going to grind a burger, I really enjoy a 50-50 chuck to sirloin mix. And that is probably my all-time favorite mix in burger.
All right, David, I saw you shaking your head at the guys that were buying pre-portioned patties. And, I don't know if it's a snobbery on your part or if you feel like they're missing out on an experience.
If you're cooking for a large group of people, I have no problem for convenience buying a pre-made patty. I'm not going to sit there and make 30 or 40 hamburger patties, something like that. But if I'm cooking for a group of, 8 to 10, I believe that if you patty it yourself, you can treat the hamburger meat. You're not handling it as much. You can patty it loosely, and I think it makes for a more tender burger.
All right, David. So let's stay with you here. So as we get into the pre-cooking events, so you've ground your beef. However, we're ready to go. So let's talk about how you make a patty and what you're doing for seasoning if you do it at this point.
Okay, so I don't know how much time I'm going to have here. But
just go. We got plenty of time.
Okay. I've conducted 3 experiments based on 3 kind of myths or thought processes when people cook burgers. One of those is, how often do you flip the burger? People have said you only flip it one time because it's going to be less juicy the more you mess with it. But then I was watching Chopped a couple weeks ago, and Alex Gornicelli, I believe is her name, she said, oh, that guy's flipping his burgers a lot. That's good. He's redistributing the juices. I'd never thought of it like that. So I wanted to do a test on flipping burgers. I also wanted to do a test on, do you season the patty throughout the meat when you're making the patty, or do you only season the outside of the burger, and does that have an impact on the final result?
All right.
And then the last thing I wanted to test is the divot that we've all heard about. You know, if you don't put that divot and you hand patty, what kind of shape do you come out with? Because a lot of people get that hockey puck or that burger that is domed up and very difficult to eat because it's skinnier on the edges and bigger in the middle. What does that have, if any, effect on the final results? So I did flipping, and here's how I did it. And I'll run through this very quickly. 80-20 ground chuck. I did not season the burger for the flipping test. 8-ounce patties made to roughly 1 inch thick, and I used a mold with very light pressure to get the thickness the same on all the patties. I used a flat surface grill grates with an average of 535 degrees surface temperature checked with an IR thermometer, and the range was about 20 degrees from the hottest spot to the coolest spot, so it was fairly consistent. Cooked it on a gas grill just for uniformity to make sure that the temperatures were as even as possible. And then I had a total of 8 patties that I cooked for a total of 8 minutes apiece. I flipped 2 of them every 30 seconds, 2 of them every minute, 2 of them every 2 minutes, and 2 of them I only flipped 1 time at the 4-minute mark halfway through.
All right.
I rested them for 5 minutes, and then I weighed them again to see how much they had lost from 8 ounces to check for moisture loss.
Yep.
And then I temped them to check for doneness, as well as cut them open and looked at appearance. So here's the results. As expected, the most flipped, starting at 30 seconds, they fell apart. I tried to hold the parts that fell apart together for the total weight loss. It was difficult. The other shapes all held throughout the cooking process. The most flipped lost 31 to 33% of their total weight from the beginning. So from 8 ounces, they were down to 5.3. That was the most lost. The ones that were only flipped once, they lost 25%. So is it noticeable? 33 to 25%? I don't know. I'd say that's negligible, but they did lose the least amount of moisture. The crust was noticeably better on the 1 flip and the 3 flip. So the least flip burgers, the crust had formed much better.
Sure.
Here's the interesting part. The flipped burgers actually cooked much, much more quickly. At 8 minutes, they averaged 140 degrees internal temperature, where the ones only flipped once averaged 128.
Whoa.
And I'm guessing that's because as you have the crust forming and only heat coming from one side, the other side's not getting heat at all except for indirect. The ones that are flipped more, you're warming the patties up more evenly from both sides, and they're going to cook faster because you don't have a cold side and a crust on the bottom to protect the heat. Hypothesis on my part. At the end of it, all burgers remained juicy enough that the people that tested them, when they ate them, felt like that was still an enjoyable burger. But the winner was the burger that was flipped every 2 minutes, so a total of 3 times, because it had the best combination of crust, moisture, and speed. So if you were cooking to a temperature, say 135, it's going to reach that temperature about 2 minutes faster than the burgers cooked that only flipped once.
And that was the burger that was flipped every 2 minutes.
Every 2 minutes for a total of 3 times.
Right.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Look at you.
Okay. Seasoning.
Nice. That's some great research there, by the way, David. Appreciate you doing that.
Let me tell you, as a big guy from Oklahoma, I didn't mind eating all those burgers.
I got to tell you, I am surprised that the ones that you were flipping, was the first one every 30 seconds?
It was every 30 seconds.
Okay. Well, that's the problem. I think if that first flip could have waited a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes, and then you started flipping every 30 seconds from there, probably would have stayed together a little better. But 30 seconds on the griddle for anything, even if it was at 900 degrees, that thing's going to be falling apart. So that's a shame. I think that one probably would have been pretty good. All right, so continue. I'm sorry.
Okay, seasoning, 2 patties, both 8 ounces, used exactly a half teaspoon of, Steve, Butcher's Grilling Addiction, of course, my favorite seasoning for burgers. Exactly a half teaspoon, and I seasoned 1 patty throughout before I formed it, and the other one I waited and seasoned only the 2 surfaces, and then I let it set on there for 10 minutes before I put it on the grill. Cooked them 8 minutes. I flipped them every 2 minutes since that's the one I liked best from the first test, and then hard to judge this one without having people taste it. So I had my family and friends taste the burgers blindly without telling them which one was which and give me the results. And I was checking for flavor, impact on moisture. And a lot of people will say if you season the meat throughout, the meat becomes more rubbery or has a firm texture. So that's what I was looking for.
All right.
Here's the results. No impact on temperature, doneness, or speed of cooking. So essentially they cooked the same. The weight loss was equal at 28%, no difference in weight loss, so moisture retention theoretically. The crust was only slightly better on the seasoned burger on the outside. Now, I didn't use kosher salt and coarse black pepper like I typically would. With Grilling Addiction, I think that's a finer powder, which probably meant that it didn't necessarily help to improve the crust on the burger seasoned on the outside. The overwhelming majority said that the seasoned burger had a more intense flavor from the seasoning because it was seasoned throughout. But it was also unanimous that the meat seemed less tender and did in fact have a more rubbery consistency.
Really?
Not necessarily juiciness, but it felt more firm even though it was cooked to the identical temperature as the one that was seasoned only on the crust. On the flip side, they all said the outside seasoned burger only seemed a little less seasoned, but it was definitely more tender. And all of the people, and there were about 8 total, seasoned on the outside was their preferred burger for texture and seasoning combination.
Interesting.
Yep.
Right.
And then the last one was pretty straightforward with the divot. 1 burger I pattied by hand. 1 burger I hand pattied and then put the divot in it. And then the last burger I used my press to get uniform, as Steve and Doug were talking about with the frozen patties have a much more uniform shape than doing it by hand. Cooked them the same way as above. The results were both the ones done by hand and the one with the divot done by hand, both domed up anyway, regardless of the divot. And the burger that held its shape better was the one that was more uniform from the beginning, which was done in the press. So that was kind of more straightforward. But the divot did not help that I saw over the patty made by hand without the divot.
And the divot is supposed to help retain moisture? Is that what it is?
No, the divot is to help as the burger cooks. You'll get that domed effect where burgers done by hand, they said without the divot would be larger in the middle, thicker in the middle, and then come down on the side. So it'll balloon up essentially. The divot was supposed to help that balloon come back up and make it an even surface and an even thickness. It didn't appear to work. You'll see Bobby Flay always talk about divots.
I was just gonna say Bobby Flay. I think divots everything that he makes.
I also looked it up on the internet, and there are people that have done the divot test, and nobody said that they had seen a significant difference in the divot and the not divot. So it kind of matched the findings.
All right, good for you. David Huff, bringing the heat, as it were, over Home Embedded Correspondents. All right, so let's slide over initially to Doug. And Doug, let's talk about your seasoning process and like pre-cook stuff. What do you do?
Okay, I've always heard that you don't season the inside of the meat. It's not a meatloaf. It's a burger, so you season just the outside. So I did a little research, and I actually found a very good article by, Kenji
Lopez Alt?
Yes. So he actually did a pretty detailed study on this and seasoning the entire burger, all of the meat or just the outside. And his recommendation, and he's got an article, and I'll be glad to send it to anybody that wants it. Basically, he says breakfast sausage is seasoned throughout the meat. And the reason is because the salt actually destroys a little bit of the meat fibers, and that's what makes it less tender. So I think, David, you kind of saw that. And so that's why you only want to season the outside of the meat and not all of the meat. Now, with regard to the dimple, I actually went to Cooks Illustrated, and the dimple depends on how you cook it. David, what was your temperature? It seems like it would be fairly hot if you're done in like 6 minutes to a side.
The average was 500 and I think 30 degrees was the average grill temperature, the surface.
But you were on a gas grill, right?
Yes.
Straight on the grates, yeah. So the dimple actually, what they said was basically that the dimple depends on how you cook it. So if you cooked it like on your stovetop, you don't need the dimple. The reason you need the dimple is because at 140 degrees of the temperature of the meat, and if it's getting heat from all sides, it's the collagen that's actually shrinking up, and that's what causes the doming effect. So I typically do dimple, and when I put it onto the grill.
All right. Let's see. We got 3.5 minutes. John Solberg, what do you do previous to getting it on the grill? What's your preparation?
I use a commercial burger press. It's very similar to Doug's cap idea. It controls the amount of compression that you're putting on the burger. You weigh it out, you put it in there, you don't overpress it. I season the outside of it, and I go to the grill. I just use salt. I mean, I'm a salt and meat fire guy, so my only seasoning pre-cook is salt.
No pepper at all?
Not until the finish.
All right. And then dimpling? You don't buy any of that?
I did it for a long time, and with the commercial press, and I'm not cooking at high temps, I don't find it necessary.
I don't know if you're a sponsored dimple or a commercial presser, but what brand do you find that you like the best? Because I want to get
I use a Lem commercial press. It's Wesson makes the same press. There are several companies with the same press. It's about a $24 piece.
You get it on Amazon or whatnot?
Yeah, Lem Products is the name that pops in my head.
Is it do you have to put paraffin down or like wax paper to keep it from sticking, or is it made out of a nonstick innard?
It is an aluminum product. It is coated. I do use burger sheets because they're just so cheap, and it does make cleanup. I'm kind of clean freaky anyway, so I always use burger sheets.
A little.
Hey, it's not a bad way to be. Cross-contamination kills.
Yeah.
It just helps to clean up, and it also helps you get the patty out of the press, stack it neatly. They don't stick together. So, and 500 burger sheets are just a couple bucks.
What was your ounce of patty of choice?
I really like a 5 or 6 ounce burger.
Really?
And double up if you need to, but
sure.
It's 2 for the price of 1. If you want cheese, you can double cheese. It's a good size to cook. You can manage a large amount of them quickly. If you double them up, you're eating 10 ounces of beef on a patty. That's not bad.
Yeah, right. All right, Steve, quickly before we go to the first break, what do you like to do prior to getting it on the grill?
I'm more of a get the grill ready real good. I get the grill grate on there. I get it hot. I'll clean it real good, and then I'll get the butter-flavored Pam I like to spray the grill grate down with. And while I'm doing that, I've got the patties laid out on a cutting board, and I'll go to my Butcher Barbecue, his hamburger steak, his steak
brisket rub and steak.
Yeah, no, it's not a brisket. It's got I think it's called the Longhorn. I can't remember right now. It's got real salty, and I'll use it. And I just let them sit there for just a little bit, just to let them absorb it. And then I like to keep them neat on that grill grate. I like to see if I can cook them all at the same time and have them come off all at the same time. And I'm usually successful at that. But I think using that grill grate, introduces a whole nother flavor to the hamburgers, no matter what type of meat, what mix of meat you're using. All
right, well, let's not get into the cooking yet. I was just talking about the pre-stuff here. So anything else from a flavoring or pre-cooked?
Just Butcher Barbecue stuff, yeah.
All right, so we are going to take our first break, and we'll come back, and we'll talk to the rest of the gents here. Give me 1 second here. Let's see. Grid view window. What the hell? Window. Like that. Hold on. Grid view. Somebody say something real quick.
Check 1 2. Check 1 2.
Test.
All right.
Test 2.
Oh, I see what's going on. All right. Okay. So anyway, let me flip back to here. Just figuring out Skype to make the viewing experience a little better here. You guys stand by, and I'll do a little business here with the folks at home. Talk to them quickly about the oldest barbecue joint in Texas. That's right, Southside Market Barbecue, established in 1882. Southside, the oldest joint in Texas. They've been owned and operated for the same family for 3 generations, famous for the original beef sausage, coarse ground, and natural pork casing. They also have authentic Central Texas barbecue to sell you as well. All meats, including the prime briskets, are smoked low and slow for many hours over real Texas post oak wood. They ship nationwide via the online store, SouthsideMarket.com, and they also ship fresh and smoked sausages nationwide. Shipping customers can choose to order now, ship later, include a custom gift note, and mail to multiple addresses without additional charges. All shipped items vacuum sealed to ensure freshness and ease of preparation for the customer. They're processed in the on-site USDA inspected facility. On-site meat markets for fresh and smoked products. Custom orders are welcome as well if you want to eat there. 2 restaurants at your disposal. Elgin, Texas since 1882 and Bastrop, Texas since 2014. Grocery distribution through Texas and many surrounding states. Don't forget, if you shop at SouthsideMarket.com, you get 10% off your entire online order when you use code BBQ Central. That's all one word and lowercase, BBQ Central. BBQ CENTRAL. All you get for your online order, 10% off. How about that? Not just your first order, every order going forward. SouthsideMarket.com and promo code BBQ Central. And we are back with Burger Talk with the embedded correspondents. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the BBQ Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Are you ready to find out where you rank against all competitive barbecue teams across the country? Visit SmokingWithSmithfield.com to check out your rank with the Smoking with Smithfield National Barbecue Championship Leaderboard. If you're not signed up, you can't be taking part in it, so do that too at the same website, registration free, so sign up today. SmokingWithSmithfield.com. And we rejoin the embedded correspondents. We're talking burgers for now. So, David, you kind of blew the wad on your reveal of all your burger stuff, but that's all right. I mean, that was a great stuff. I just don't want you to feel like we're leaving you out here through the rest of the stuff. If you hear of anything that, of course, that you think is trash or that you want to also weigh in on, just raise your hand and we'll get right to you. Doug, let's go back to you from a cooking portion. How do we fire up the grill? What temperatures are we cooking at? How do you like to flip? Let's talk cook.
I fire up the grill to about 450, 500. And I make sure that I always cook my burgers on a griddle. And I think that's important because I hate, for some reason, I think it prevents it from crumbling. And before I put it on there, I actually put a little butter on there. Your buddy Michael Simon likes to put mustard on there to get a little extra char. Yeah. But I'll put butter on it, and then I put it on the grill. And then depending on the thickness. So if you get the preformed patties, a lot of times they're thinner. So I'll flip about every 3-4 minutes. But if it's a big thick patty, usually 8 to maybe even 9 ounces or so, I will probably flip every 6 to 8 minutes, and usually it's about 3 times.
All right. What was the size patty that you said you like?
8 ounce? I like anywhere from 8 to 9 ounces because I think one of the most important things on a burger is the meat to bun ratio, and I want to have more meat, and I want that meat to be sticking out from the side of the bun. Otherwise, I don't want the burger.
Otherwise, you don't want the burger?
Well, it's to me, it's not as attractive.
Is it starting to look more like a hot dog if it doesn't do that? What are we talking about?
I want a little Lohas on my burger.
That's right.
I want a little Lohas on my burger.
I got it. So, from a temperature standpoint, will you thermopen a burger, or do you just do it from time now?
Oh yeah, no, I'll thermopen a burger. So I'll thermopen it to anywhere from 150 to 155. So I'll pull it because there will be a little carryover. So
all right, let's go to Steve Ray. Steve, talk to us about your cooking method.
Yeah, I jumped the gun a little bit. I'm sorry about
That's
that.
all right.
I used a grill grate side up. I usually do 3 across. Spray the butter, like I said, on the grill grates. I don't use a thermal pan. I watch the top of the burger, and I watch a little bit of when moisture starts popping up on the tops when I turn it, and then I'll usually leave it for about 3 more minutes. I like to cook anywhere between 5 and 550 degrees. I find that's what works for me, and that's it. It's very, very simple. I use Butcher's butter, just regular butter flavored grilling oil as my binder for the spices and the flavorings, what have you. I did find something I like a little bit better, and I'm going to share that with you in a little bit. And I found that out today. It's really cool. But that's it. That's just it. Just cook it. I like mine about 145. I like mine rare, and it's okay if you know where the meat came from, and you're doing it yourself. A rare hamburger works.
All right, John. Let's talk about your cooking method.
Man, I'm a fart in a windstorm. I'm all over the place. I feel like I'm like the odd man out here because
really,
it's like, what do I feel like cooking on today? I'll throw them on a pit barrel, open on a grate. I'll do a charcoal on a Jumbo Joe, a gas grill. I don't think about it that much. I make fire and I put a burger on there.
Is there no favorite way for you to do it though? Like if you could only do it one way for the rest of your, let's ask the Sophie's Choice question here on this show because we ask the hard hitting questions. If you had to do it one way for the rest of your life, how are you going to pick amongst?
I'm going to a gas grill just because it's the simplest way to do it, and I can make a whole lot of them fast, and it's going to be consistent.
All right, David, are you hearing anything that is making you ask internal questions?
I mean, I would ask Steve. He says he uses on the grill grates, he uses the grated side up.
Yep.
I prefer the flat side because I want as much contact with a hot surface to get that crust like you were doing on a griddle in an old diner or something like that. So do you prefer the grated side if it's not for anything other than the grill marks? Or I've actually heard some people say they like the texture of the meat better if it doesn't have that crust. So just curious what Steve would say.
Steve?
That's the way I like it, David. It's just the way I prefer it. I like the grill marks. I can do a griddle. Sometimes if I do a griddle, I do it inside on the cast iron. I don't know how to answer that question. I feel like I've been put on the spot.
So, is it just like an appearance thing? You just like it because you like it the way it looks better, or just nothing?
No, I think it tastes good. I like the no flare up. I don't have to worry about heat or fire.
Have you tried it with the grill grates flipped the other way?
Yeah, I think I have once or twice. I like the little marks.
All right, rails up it is for our Tennessee embedded correspondent. All right, so
how do you like it? How do you do yours?
Oh, hold on, I got a whole thing here at the end. Just wait. So let's see who's there. Steve, Doug. Doug, let's go back to you. Finishing. What do we like? Are we cheese? Are we everything? Are we very simplistic when it comes to topping? What are you?
Yeah, I'm fairly simplistic. I will say one thing about the griddle, cooking on the pellet cooker or whatever and flare-ups and stuff. If you cook on the griddle, all that grease doesn't go on to the drip pan and helps prevent grease fires. So, cooking at that high temperature. Now, in terms of what I like, my favorite one is my wife's favorite, of course, which is pepper jack cheese and green chilies. And I'll put those, put the cheese on, and then I'll put the green chilies. And then I will also tint it. So I do that usually at about 145, 148, and I'll tint it with an aluminum pan, with the aluminum pan going over the drip pan and getting the heat that's coming up from the bottom of the pellet cooker. And then that helps melt my cheese a little better, I feel. So because I like to put a ton of cheese on it.
You cook all this on a pellet cooker?
Yeah, I cook it on a pellet cooker. I cook all the time. I cook everything on the pellet cooker. I fry chicken on the pellet cooker.
I'm not going to steer that ship into that direction at this point, although I had a wild fascination to do it, but we'll do that at another time. All right, so is there anything else? No, so are the green chilies like the stuff out of the can, or you get hatch chilies from New Mexico, or what do you prefer?
Perfect, exactly. Hatch chilies out of New Mexico, and we'll actually freeze them and use them throughout the year.
Really?
The Costco has the 505 brand that comes in the glass jars. those are very good. I know I'm not a canned green chili guy. No.
All right, Steve, let's go to you. How do you topping your burger?
Cheese, ketchup.
What kind of cheese?
American.
Yeah.
Just the yellow stuff in the wrapper.
Love it.
Ketchup. That's the only condiment I use. And every now and then I'll put a tomato on it. But lately I've been leaving the tomato off and I've been putting a fried egg on it.
How lately?
Last year. I've been doing a lot of fried eggs. I'm really getting good at frying eggs. And I put them on there. They're not runny. I make them so they're not runny. And that's kind of my burger of choice.
What's your trick to doing a fried egg? So are you flipping it over or are you leaving it sunny side up?
No. I'll flip it.
Okay. What's your trick to doing a good fried egg?
The way I do it, I put it in the skillet, and I hit when as soon as the white stuff gets a little fried, I hit the yolk and make it run.
Oh.
Then I flip it over and let it all get hard, and then I slide it on that burger.
Got it. All right. And that's it.
Yeah, that's simple.
All right.
And I like it small. It's where you can actually eat it instead of having one of those big tall things. I like this. Mine is very edible.
All right. Do you toast the buns?
Yeah, I'll throw them on the grill.
Yeah.
Sure will.
Doug, are you a toast bun guy?
No, not really.
Not really?
No, it's too much of a pain in the butt. I don't think it adds that much.
Too much of a pain in the butt. You're cooking hamburgers on a freaking pellet cooker and putting buns on a pellet cooker is too much of a pain in the butt?
ADD. And I burn the buns inevitably, so I always have to toast twice as many buns.
It's not even direct heat. What are you talking about? Holy shit!
No, I put it on the sides over the direct heat that's coming from the. So I always do that. So I always inevitably burn half of them.
All right, I asked somebody else already. Was it? Did I ask you, David, if you did the toasted buns? You were not a toast bun guy.
Oh, yeah. I slather them with butter and toast the buns. Absolutely.
All right. That was John. But John doesn't eat bread, right? You're not a bread eater, John?
Not anymore, but I used to be. So I do have a way to build the perfect burger with toppings with a bun.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I do.
All right.
And it is, first of all, I don't want my burger to be the Bloody Mary of today because that's what burgers have become. So toasted bun, no oil on that bun. I want to taste a little smoke on it. Mayo on the bottom bun.
All right.
Fresh ground pepper, a hamburger patty. That is it. No cheese. Let that juice come out of that patty, get into that mayo and that pepper. Makes amazing sauce. You just got to try it.
No cheese.
Well, I'm again, a fart in the windstorm. I do it all kinds of ways, but if I get to pick one way, that's the way it's going down.
All right. So did everybody toast their buns, or did somebody say they didn't toast their bun? I forget.
Doug doesn't.
He doesn't prefer it. He doesn't
only
prefer it.
Only if requested.
Yeah. All right. And by the way, as we've just found out, if you're requested, Doug will burn your bun on a pellet cooker. No less. Wow, it's amazing. All right. So let's quickly go back around the room. We'll start with David since he hasn't gotten to say anything here in a couple minutes. But is there anything else from a burger standpoint, David, that you do? I mean, we didn't really talk about how you prep it or how you finish it, but like, what do you do to your favorite burger?
So I mean, I completely appreciate John's simplicity, but I'm a cheese guy. If a burger doesn't have a cheese, I don't want it. So I put cheese on the burger. Condiments, man, that's so subjective. Whatever floats their boat. Personally, I love the breakfast burger idea with the bacon and the egg and the cheese on it. Although, Steve, not picking on you, buddy, but if you don't have a runny yolk, I don't understand why you want an egg on your burger, because that's why you do the egg on the burger. And then my favorite burger is a good old-fashioned mushroom Swiss. I love the taste of sauteed mushrooms with garlic and maybe a little bit of Marsala wine and topped with a really good Swiss cheese or Havarti, and that's my favorite burger. I don't typically put a lot of vegetables on the burger when it comes to tomatoes, lettuce, etc., other than onions. I love a grilled onion on a burger as well.
All right.
And then, sorry, real quickly with the cheeses, experiment with the cheeses. Try queso. Try pimento cheese. I mean, try something different. I've even made a burger with Alfredo sauce as the cheese. It's just fun. It's a burger. You probably can't go wrong. Worst case scenario, you don't like it and you're out a couple bucks. It's not like you're cooking a prime rib wrong or something like that. I mean, just have fun with it.
Yeah. Doug, is there anything else that you do burger-wise?
I like to put a little bit of mustard on the bottom, lettuce over that, then the burger with the cheese, and then onions and tomatoes on top. I like the lettuce on the bottom so that the bottom burger doesn't get soggy if the burger has to set for a while before eating.
All right. Steve, anything else that you do?
No, nothing.
No. All right. John, anything else that you do?
No, I'm not saying nothing because I'm all for Steve and his not runny yolk and preformed patties. So I'm on the outside here.
All right.
I'm a little bit like Dave's burger bitch.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to become the next one.
Yeah. All right. Well, so after listening to you guys and the lengths that you guys are going through to achieve this perfect burger, further solidifies in my mind that I am doing absolutely the right thing, which, of course, is rushing to my nearest grocer's freezer section and buying Bubba burgers because they are absolutely fucking spectacular. The brown box, fire up the gas grill to medium heat, which is about 450 degrees, slam that weird-looking frozen burger patty down on the flat side of my grill grates with a dollop of Butcher's Barbecue grilling oil, 4 minutes on one side, flip, 4 minutes on the second side, perfectly juicy, semi-pink middle, let's call it medium rare, why not? And they are just fucking delicious. American cheese all over the top. Sometimes I will do Swiss cheese just for fun. Always toast the bun. Some ketchup, some mustard. I like pickles. Just kind of depends on what mood I'm in that day. The cowboy candy jalapeno sometime if I happen to get some from my daughter's boyfriend's mother, if I'm using that chain of command correctly. But man, oh man. Burgers are great, but I find, especially with burgers, and while Doug will disagree with hot dogs, sometimes simplicity is the key here. And I don't want to go too far away from what it is, which is a piece of grilled ground beef. And I find that to be particularly amazing. And I don't want to make it taste like a meatloaf or like something else. I just want it to taste like a really good hamburger. When they're executed really well, we can sit here for 40 minutes and talk about something like this, and that's why they're great. Oh, dear. We're quickly running out of time, and there was a whole nother subject that I wanted to get to, and by next month, it might not even make a difference. So let's just quickly span the dais here and give me your 15 to 20-second preview cut here. Traeger has filed a lawsuit against Dansons, which is the company that makes the Pitboss cooker, alleging a number of things that they've hired the original Traegers. There's a lot of murkiness that's going on, that there was a payoff of $9 million for the Traegers to stay kind of out of this business. But I don't know exactly where the key points were. And there was a Traeger online portion that I have, and also there was an answer by Dansons basically refuting everything the Traeger said. But you guys were able to read both sides of it. Doug, you're a little bit more intimate on this, so if you want to recuse yourself, that's certainly up to you. But David, let's go to you first and get your take on the suit itself, if you think it's going to hold up, and what you think the end might be.
Here's what I know. I don't know the specifics of the contract, but I do know that lawyers are paid an ungodly amount of money to make sure that as much ambiguity in these contracts is removed as possible. There is something in that contract that specifically says what Louisiana Grills or Pitboss would be allowed to do should they hire either of the Traeger brothers. And if they either violated that contract or they didn't, and I think it will come out in however far this lawsuit goes. I just can't believe that there's any type of ambiguity in the contract that would leave this up to some sort of subjective opinion.
John Solberg, your opinion?
It doesn't matter right or wrong. Doesn't matter what's in the contract. Traeger has a lot more capital and can fight this fight longer. It's not about it's not about anything other than that. Whoever can litigate this the longest is going to win, and I'm calling Traeger the winner right here now.
So are you under the impression they're just trying to squeeze out potential market share gainers then?
Well, I got to believe Traeger's not stupid. They think they got a chance, and they can litigate longer than Danson can, so they have a good chance of winning. Otherwise, they wouldn't make the investment. So I think that they are going to try to block that market share out, and I think they'll be able to do it.
Steve, your thought?
Well, Danson has hired the Traeger brothers, which...
Now, hold on a second. I just want to clarify. I think this is actually a son, or a father and a son. I don't think it's the brothers. Am I right on that, Doug?
A duo, the Traeger duo.
Okay.
And for some reason, Traeger feels like this has damaged them. They've got to prove damages. So that'll be the main part of the trial, if it goes to trial, is what type of damage did Traeger suffer by Dansons hiring this father and son team to help market Pitboss smokers.
Doug, do you have a thought? Or are you allowed to say anything?
Yeah, I'm not an employee of Traeger or an agent of Traeger. I am sponsored by them and an independent contractor. Anything that I may say is my own personal opinion.
All right.
I actually am a business broker, and I find it very interesting from the standpoint of usually when there's a transition or a purchase of a business, you've got the non-compete. You can't prohibit the other, the previous owner from working. You have the name that was transferred and in the press release, it says the Traeger paid $9 million for the exclusive and perpetual right to use the Traeger name, likeness, and reputation in the wood pellet industry. So, if you go to the websites, you see the old Traeger, I don't know if they paid for the use of the old Traeger, the barn, in terms of that likeness and in association with Traeger. And if you're going to trademark or have patents, et cetera, I know that when they came out with the Timberline, there were 16 patents that they had with the Timberline. And then they've also trademarked Traeger has most of their grill names. And, I don't think I've ever been to their website. And I saw that they have, a tailgater in the same way that Traeger does. And so I don't know who was first, or they have an Austin grill, which is very similar to the Texas grill. And they have Pro Series, which is, identical to what Traeger has. So I think it'll be very interesting. And I thought it was interesting that Traeger put out a press release.
Yeah, like they I hate to say getting out in front of it isn't the right thing to say, but basically announcing that they are filing suit.
Yeah, I thought that was very interesting from the standpoint of I don't know if I really can recall that someone has done a press release that they were going after another company and stuff. So, but and again, I don't know anything about it from the internal standpoint. That was just what I did in terms of research. If you go to their websites, you'll find some of the same stuff.
Do you have a thought on how it might end up?
Yeah, I think Traeger will win. I'm in agreement with John in terms of we'll just and looking at the websites. You look at it and I was surprised to see the same names and there's grills called the Founder Series, etc. So I didn't even know about that, which to me would seem to be against what they paid the $9 million for.
Yeah, and I guess I was surprised. I don't know when they sold to whoever ended up buying them out. Whatever version of Traeger bought the Traegers out. I mean, does let me step back and to say $9 million is certainly a lot of money, but does $9 million seem like enough money at that point? Like, did they get the Traeger name at a bargain at $9 million, Doug?
Well, that's interesting. I don't know the structure of the whole, as a business broker, I don't know the structure of the transaction, but it is interesting that there was a dollar amount because in most of the transactions we do, the name is just included in the overall purchase. But a lot of times that dollar amount is used for potentially damages or, in this sorts of thing, there's usually a clawback type clause, et cetera. So I think it's think it's interesting. And, if you're going to have trademarks or patents, the question is, are you going to defend them? And if so, how much is it going to cost you? So if you're going to do it, you need to defend them. And I think that's what Traeger's doing.
All right. So now I did send a list of 4 or 5 questions over to Dansons over the weekend after I had seen this litigation be released, especially in that press release. And asked them 4 or 5 questions and told them we're going to be going to air on Tuesday at 10 o'clock. We're going to be discussing this specifically. And if you could have your owner give his answers to these or tell me you don't want to answer them. So to this point, I feel like a real journalist when I say this. I've got no answer back from Dansons on those questions. And they were not necessarily hard-hitting, but they were pretty direct in, did you read the agreement that the Traegers had on the buyout? And do you feel that there was any malicious acts done in order to, there was a lot of talk of that Pitboss was trying to confuse the customers. And I would maintain that it's hard to confuse somebody even if the model names are the same, it's hard to confuse somebody if you're going to buy a Traeger. I've never heard anybody say, I'm going I thought I was going to buy X grill, but I bought X grill instead. That was my mistake because I thought it was this or that. I think that's going to be a pretty big issue. Now, when you get into the minutia of Pro Series versus Pro Series, oh, sure, I mean, then you probably have a little bit more of a hurdle to overcome, but I've never heard anybody say that they've been murkied up enough by one company or another and their advertising to where they went to the store and bought the wrong grill on accident. I mean, people know what they're buying, and we'll see how it goes. But I got no answers back from them, so hopefully in the next week or so we get something back from them, and we'll see how it goes here. But the fourth Tuesday of the month, I can tell you this. David Huff from Oklahoma, Doug Scheiding from Texas, John Solberg from Michigan, and Steve Ray from Tennessee will be joining me going forward. They are the Embedded Correspondents, and I say, gentlemen, great burger talk this evening, and thank you so much. And there they are. Look at these guys. The Embedded Correspondents, of course, doing it live with me every fourth Tuesday. And trying something a little bit new with the grid on the video side. Always trying to keep it a little nice for you guys as we run a little bit long. Somebody who is currently not under litigation is the BBQ Guru. Way to go, Bob. Way to keep everybody at the Guru out of trouble for another week. The BBQ Guru has always believed that outdoor cooking should be easy and fun because it can be. They have this new thing called the Monolith BBQ Guru Edition Grill. It's the world's first temperature-controlled smoker with a built-in power draft fan. This means smarter control and greater freedom with automatic temperature controllers. Easily choose your cooking time and temp, and let the Monolith do the work of a sous chef or a barbecue pitmaster. With minimal effort, you now have oven-like precision at the grill, and you can serve the tastiest, juiciest meals each and every time. If you already have a BBQ Guru pit controller, you don't have to get a new one in order for it to work on the Monolith. Just connect it right to that built-in power draft fan, and away you go. Now, if you want to upgrade that technology, go to the website, bbqguru.com. That's bbqguru.com. Or give them a call at 800-288-GURU, and they'll make sure you're outfitted with exactly what you need to get you up and running right out of the box. BBQ Guru continues to be a breakthrough in barbecue technology. We are back to wrap the show right after this. Stick around. Be right back.
This is Steve Ray with Owl's Nest Barbecue, and you're listening to the Barbecue Central Show with Greg Rempe. Can you believe it?
Whole packers, full racks, legs and thighs, injecting butts. If you've never heard this before, you might think you found the best XXX show ever. Let's get back to the most homoerotic host out there today, Greg Rempe.
All right, welcome back. Thanks again to the Embedded Correspondents for joining me the last two segments, mostly talking about burgers. So hopefully you learned a little something there. If you weren't in the YouTube chat, you were missing some great one-off zingers in there as well as far as burger advice, like mixing in gently cold water to help retain juiciness during cooking. I'm just deciding whether or not I want to read the Traeger complaint. Well, I guess I don't. If you're interested or you haven't seen it, just go to my Facebook page and the Facebook show page, by the way, and I believe I have it there, and I might have Dansons reply as well. I believe I posted both of those. If I didn't and you're really interested, just let me know, and I will make sure that I send the links your way, and then you can follow along. This is what we do. We're following along what's happening in the live fire industry. Now, whoever thought we'd come to a point where we have pellet manufacturing fights? Now, trust me, if your last name is Traeger and you don't work for Traeger and you're going to work for a different pellet cooker company, I mean, it's just bound to be some kind of a mess. Your last name is Traeger, right? That's going to be a mess. All the way back in the first hour, we talked with CB, Chris Becker from CookinPellets.com. Make sure that if you have a pellet cooker, you give Cookin Pellets a shot. They make great pellets. So good. Then we talked with Steve Ray from Steve Ray's Midnight Oil. Talked about trailer maintenance. stop blowing out your spindles, axles, and bearings and the wheels. Do the right maintenance. Come on. Then in the second hour, we talked with the embedded correspondents about burgers. And we talked a little bit about the Traeger lawsuit that's been filed against Dansons, the company that makes Pitboss. We have a bonus week coming up next week. Dare I say, one Myron Mixon makes his reemergence on the show in the first hour. Talking about ABBQ, whatever. BBQ&A, that's what it is. Oh, I just got word Myron Mixon back down. Sorry. Myron Mixon will be in. Meet Mitch is also in next week. Somebody else is already booked up for next week, too. Who is? I forget. Big show already booked. All booked. Myron Mixon, Meet Mitch, amongst others. Let's just say that way. September 11th, 2001. I will never forget. Until next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. This is your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Rempe. Good night now.